At the outset, I request Professor Asa Gupta, President Manipur Shakti, to start the program with Shakti prayer.
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Ishavasya Midam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bhunjitha Magradha Kasyasya Vidhanam Vidyam cha Avidyam cha Yastadvedo Bhayam Saha Avidya Mrityum Tirtva Vidyaya Amritam Ashnute. Dhanyavad.
Honorable Chief Guest of today's webinar, the first day of the week-long program on Yuva Shakti Abhiyan, Dr. Sudhaji Tiwari, President, National Shakti, Dr. Naziya Hasan, today's resource person, all the respected invitees, the organizing team members, and dear participants. Shakti is a national movement for women for their of science, technology, and innovation. Yuva Shakti Abhiyan is a youth transformation program of National Shakti, ensuring personality development of youth through its programs. Manipur Shakti, though only 1 year, 2 months old, since its establishment in December 2020, has undertaken a number of initiatives like Shakti Day celebration, Science Day celebration, both national and international, participated in project activities of Mother Kitchen, Grandpari project, Tuesday's Loka activity, E-Shakti, and it has many more upcoming programs. 3 participants from Manipur Shakti in the month of November participated in entrepreneurship training program organized by National Shakti in collaboration with MGiri Wardha. Dr. Sudha Tiwari, scientist and consultant at MGiri Wardha, is with us on this opening day of Yuva Abhiyan as chief guest. She is a person with great vision, and her constant effort had led National Shakti on the path of progress. On behalf of Manipur Shakti, may I now request chief guest of today's webinar, Dr. Sudha Tiwari, President, National Shakti, to say a few words on this occasion.
Thank you. Today's chief guest, Naziya ji, the very adorable participants, students, my dear Shakti sisters, Asha ji and her team, and all the other participants. Namaskar to all. I welcome you on today's program on behalf of Shakti. As you all know, that YSA program, Yuva Shakti Abhiyan program as it is called, is a very important and relevant program in today's scenario, which Shakti runs in every unit. And why is it important? I think that all of us are very much aware of the fact that today's youth need to be taught the things which are other than bookish knowledge. And we all know, as Vivekanand ji has said, that ज्ञान व्यक्तित्व का विकास होता है. If knowledge is there, it is for enhancement of yourself. And if it is not, then that knowledge is of no use. All other things, material things which are associated with this knowledge, your degree, your career, your everything else, is a byproduct. The very important thing is that it should holistically develop you as a good human being. As we all know that in our system of ancient times, we had a Gurukul system of education in which the students used to go there, leaving their home and everything, and has to reside there with the Guru for a particular period of time. And there they used to get all the sort of education which is needed for leading a better life. That is more important, because whatever you may have as a degree, you may have the highest degree, you may have the deepest knowledge of your subject, but when it comes to disseminate that knowledge in the society, you have to work as a team. So even if a person is having highest degree and deepest knowledge, if he is not able to cooperate and run a team and have a good behavior, get along with others, then there is no use of his knowledge. He may decorate his own CV, but that knowledge is of no use to the society. And in everyone's view, knowledge is gained so that we can deliberate it, we can disseminate it in any form to the society. So that is very important thing. And this is the reason why the corporate world, you might be knowing, that nowadays they don't see the IQ. Intelligence quotient is not that important as EQ, your emotional quotient. How your own behavior is there, how your attitude towards life is there, how you take others as a team member. And so therefore, these all things, I don't say that every school, there may be schools in which the knowledge is applied knowledge is also taught. That means, for example, you might have learned botany, but then if that young children, they are taken to the field and some questions are asked about the plants and everything, they are not able to answer it because their knowledge is only restricted to the lab, restricted to the school, restricted to the book, and therefore it doesn't have any applied sense. And so therefore, for this reason, for a holistic development of the young children who are going to be the responsible citizen of India tomorrow. So these type of lectures, this type of education is the need of the hour. And therefore Shakti has taken up this program, and I am really very happy that Manipur Shakti has organized such a wonderful program, and I congratulate Asha ji and her team for such a wonderful program. And one more thing I want to say to the students who are attending this particular program, that do take lessons, do listen to the whatever lecture is going on, because nobody knows. A single line may change your attitude towards life. So therefore you must listen it, you must take home messages, must be there after the end of these particular 7-day sessions, and then you must be able to enhance yourself, decorate yourself, not your physical form or any other thing. you as a human being must be a good human being after this thing, and that is the most important thing in the world, to lead a good life. That is very important. And so therefore, take my word and be attentive. Take messages at home, and I hope that after this 7-day sessions, you will be certainly beguiled by some take home messages. So I once again congratulate the team for arranging this wonderful program, and eager to listen to Naziya ji today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam, for your inspiring and enlightening speech. We are very fortunate to have you today with us. Now, to continue with the program, I would like to request Dr. Binita Kanjam to introduce the resource person of today's program, Dr. Naziya Hasan, to the participants.
Okay, now I have to present Dr. Naziya Hasan. Dr. Naziya Hasan worked as an assistant professor in the Department of Teachers Education, Manipur University. She teaches pedagogy of English, gender, school and the society, language, across the curriculum, understanding, discipline, and the school subject and teachers education. She has experience of teaching English to undergraduate as well as school students. She has received her PhD from ISSE Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. Her areas of interest are ELT, gender issue in education, teacher education, language education, and education technology. She has prepared 20 e-content modules and a video lecture. She has prepared 20 e-content modules and the video lectures for MOOCs. She is the course lectures for MOOCs. She is the course coordinator of 2 MOOCs, namely Education in Contemporary India and Education Technology. Offered on the Swagan platform during July 2019 and 2020. In her credit, she has many articles and research work published in national and international journal. He has contributed chapters to books on education and ELT. She has also written articles in newspapers along with her. She has presented many papers in national and international conference and seminars. In addition, she has delivered lectures, including online lecture and resume person in workshop and the faculty development program sponsored by UGC and CERT and RCI. That's all.
Thank you, Dr. Binita. As Dr. Sudha Tiwari has mentioned, that for the holistic development of an individual, such a program like the topic we had kept for today, educating the youth, such programs are required for the holistic development of an individual, because development of emotional quotient of individual is the need of the hour. So we are very much eager to listen to the resource person of today's webinar, Dr. Naziya Hasan. She will be talking on the topic educating today's youth. So may I now request resource person of today's webinar, Dr. Naziya Hasan, Assistant Professor, Manipur University, Department of Education, to start her presentation.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Respected Dr. Sudha Tiwari, ma'am, Chief Guest of today's function. Respected Dr. Asha Gupta, ma'am, President, Shakti Manipur. Mrinmayi, ma'am, Binita, and all other participants. A very good evening to everyone. At the very outset, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to Dr. Asha Gupta ma'am, who has trusted me and has given me this opportunity to share my views related to education of today's youth, how to educate them, what things should be there for educating today's youth. And as this webinar is about Yuwa Shakti Abhiyan, it is about youth, about Yuwa. So I have chosen a topic that is related to their education. So I will be talking about educating today's youth. So I'll just share my screen so that you can see the presentation. The topic that I'm going to talk about is about educating today's youth. When we talk about education of youth, we first need to know the importance of their education. Like, what is the definition of youth? Who comes under the category of youth population, and why their education is so important? So, in introduction, I think like youth population is considered to be an asset for any nation. They are like nation's progress depends upon the quality of young people, and this well-educated and well-trained youth of today will be empowered workforce of future, or maybe responsible citizens of tomorrow. They need a kind of education that is catering to their needs and is suitable for their aspirations. When we look at the definition of youth, UN has defined youth as a period of transition from the dependence of childhood to adulthood's independence. They are shifting from dependence to independence. As a category, youth is more fluid than other fixed age groups. Yet age is the easiest way to define this group, particularly in relation to education and employment, because youth is often referred to a person between the ages of leaving compulsory education and finding their first job. So it is a fluid category. It's not a fixed age group, because you can find that UN has defined it to be a period from 15 to 24 years or years. But when we look at the African Youth Charter, they have said that 15 to 35, because it is a period of transition. Like how long this transition takes, it depends from country to country, or maybe from community to community. So it may differ. But in generalized way, we have, for a statistical purposes, we have UN's definition that says that those persons belonging the age of 15 to 24, they are considered as youth population. There are 1.2 billion young people aged 15 to 24 years, and they are accounted for 16% of global population. That is according to 2015. And India also has the largest adolescent and youth population. And according to UNFPA projections, India will continue to have one of the youngest populations in the world in 2030, because India has the largest youth population in the world. And as India, in our country, we know that there are different challenges, there are different problems that people used to generally face here. So youth also used to face challenges here, including access to education, access to health services, issues of marginalization, unemployment, gender inequality, issues of child marriage, lack of youth-friendly health services, and adolescents' pregnancy. So these are the challenges that are in front of the youth population in India. But with appropriate investments in their participation and leadership, young people can transform the social and economic fortunes of the country, because we know that if they are trained properly, if they participate and they work as leaders, they can transform our society, they can transform the economic fortunes of our country. Youth, they have important role to play in achieving the goals such as sustainable development goals. We all know about these sustainable development goals. There are 17 goals to transform our worlds. And these are, if you look at each of these sustainable development goals, you'll see that there are it requires role of youth population too, especially in the context of goal number 4, that is about quality education. It talks about youth. When we look at the decent work and economic growth, that is goal number 8, here also emphasis should be given on youth. So how youth is channelized, good health and well-being, gender equality, no poverty, everywhere you'll find that youth has an important role to play. here, when we look at these sustainable development goals and role of youth, it seems that young people, they can be called as the torch bearers of 2030 agenda. These sustainable development goals, they were adopted in 2015 and also called as Agenda 2030 because they have the agenda to achieve these 17 goals by the end of 2030. The youth population have a major role to play, not just as the beneficiaries of actions and policies under the agenda, but rather as partners and participants in its implementation, because they have to play a role in participate in implementing these goals. Like, what are the different practices that can be executed in order to achieve these goals. And when we look at the sustainable development goal number 4, that is related to quality education, that also talks about education of youth, like what kind of education should be given to them, what kind of content should be there, how their assessment procedures should be followed. And youth and decent work and economic growth, that is about sustainable development goals number 8, that also talks about the employment issues and all about the youth. So that incorporates those two things. When we look at young people, they are considered as agents of change. They can be positive force for development, but in condition that they are provided with the knowledge and opportunity they need to thrive. And they should acquire the education and skills needed to contribute in a productive economy. And United Nations has long recognized that the imagination, ideals, and energy of young people are vital for continuing development of the societies in which they live. Because the young people, they are transformative. They are like, they think out of the box. They are not about the conservative thinkers. They are the creative thinkers, and they bring their imagination, their ideals, and their energies to bring changes in the society in which they live. They don't want to just do things for themselves, but they want to contribute for the society. Young people are recognized as agents of change, entrusted with fulfilling their own potential and ensuring a world fit for future generations. When we look at the youth of today, there is one initiative of UNICEF, that is Children's Emergency Fund, Generation Unlimited, that talks about youth. And it states that if the largest generation of young people in history is prepared for the transition to work, the potential for global progress is unlimited. We enable young people to become productive and engaged members of society. So that is the purpose of this Generation Unlimited. They talk about the youth, such as being young is synonym of change, synonym of progress, and synonym of future. Being young is facing challenges, creating or recreating a space for future that is full of development. And it means turning problems into opportunities and solutions and being the driving force for society. When we look at the today's youth, they are different from the youth like few decades ago. So when we look at the chief characteristics of today's youth, because when we talk about their education, we need to first see like what characteristics they possess. So the chief characteristics, we can see that it's digital and media literate. They are digitally literate. They are techno savvy. They are media literate. They use social media to change the world. They use social media to share their points, and they are transformative. They want transformation in society. They are creative. They don't just conform to all the norms and traditions that are given to them, but they are creative thinkers. They want things to be changed if they are not of good use. They are responsible, curious, flexible enough, and that's why they need an education that is flexible too. They are versatile. They are just, they want the education that promotes justice, that promotes equality. They are committed and they are independent, and they want the autonomy. They want to be accountable for their own growth. And when we look at during this COVID-19 crisis, youth population was severely affected by this crisis, because like youth employment fell by 8.7% according to UN's study, 8.7% in 2020, but in case of adults it was hardly 3.7%. So and in case of male and female, we can see that young women are than their male counterparts, and their NEET rate, that means not in employment, education or training rate, has risen in many countries. Like the youth are not in employment, they are not in education, they are not in any training. So that is the thing. In 2013, about 20% of all youth in the developing countries, developing world, are idle. They were not in education, they were not in employment or in training. So this crisis has severely affected them. So we need to bridge this, the gap that due to school closure, due to closure of educational institutions, there has come a huge gap between the skills that is required for workforce and the skill that is being imparted in schools and educational institutions. What young people need to succeed, we need to think this also, like what do they need in order to be successful in life? They want a kind of skill that is like not mere mastery of the content that is being taught to them, or some subjects they are studying, the degrees, the grades, they are of use, of course, but not only the determinant of their success, but they need something that can be highly useful for them, such as skills such as problem solving skill, critical thinking skill, communication, entrepreneurship. These skills need to be imparted to them, because if they want to be successful, they need to develop these things. When we look at the education of today's youth, what kind of education they need? They need teamwork. They want to work in collaboration so that collaborative skills are developed. They want the education to be flexible so that they can work according to their own pace, according to their own learning style. So all learners are incorporated, all youth like differences are incorporated. 21st century skills, they want the skills to be imparted that are 21st century skills, such as communication skill, critical thinking skill, collaboration, creativity, citizenship, growth mindset. These are the 21st century skills that they require. Then they don't want a very rigid teaching and learning system. They want an education system that is dynamic, that is flexible. They want experiential learning, brainstorming, debates and discussion, real life problem based content. So when we look at these areas, we find that we need some changes in content areas, like what things are being taught to them. We need to change the content according to the needs and requirements of youth. We need to change the methods and techniques that the teachers are adopting for teaching youth, and assessment procedures too. Because mere changing in content and method will not be as effective until and unless there is changes in assessment policies too. Here we need to look at, when we are asking for developing 21st century skills, we need to think about 21st century pedagogy also. Like, what is 21st century pedagogy? It is contextual. It is not out of the context, but it is something which is related to the child. Like, it is related to the young people. Like, if they are learning something, it should be from their own real life. It should be interdisciplinary. One subject should not be divorced from the other subjects, like total division of these two. Like, we are not making boundaries, we are making the boundaries porous, so that mathematics students can also understand and think about social sciences. So it's not about being into one particular discipline, but it should be about interdisciplinary and collaborative. It should be collaborative, like not only collaboration between students, but should be from teacher to teacher also. Project-based learning, problem-solving abilities, transparent assessment, where students come to know, like, on what basis they are being assessed. Then creative thinking skills and technology driven. So these are the pedagogy that 21st century learners want. So our youth also want this kind of pedagogy where 21st century skills are developed. And when we look at the teaching, there is a need to know about the Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives also, because I'll just simply talk about the three domains that he has given. Because whenever we go for teaching, like as we are saying that we should be more into emotional aspect, we should be more into psychomotor aspects. So these are already given in Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives, but how far we are executing it in our education system. We are more into cognitive domain only. Psychomotor and affective domains are not being given due emphasis. So in cognitive domain, there are different set of skills like knowledge, comprehension, application, but majority of the area in education, we used to see that knowledge and comprehension is being given due emphasis, but the higher order thinking skills are not highlighted. And in psychomotor also, from imitation, naturalization or habit formation is there, like how the child or the youth works with hand, not only from head, but hand and heart also. Like affective domain is also equally important. As ma'am was saying that, ma'am Sudha Tiwari was saying that not only intellectual intelligence quotient, but emotional quotient is important in being successful. Like when you are in if you want to be successful, your IQ might be like important. Yes, it is important, but it is less than 30% important. But your EQ and AQ, they are of like more than 70%. So we need to develop those aspects. And here I will talk about the life skills for youth, because the most important thing that we have to highlight is about life skills for youth. Because when we talk about education of youth, we have to talk about life skills. And these life skills are the abilities for adaptive and positive behavior that enable individuals to deal effectively with the demands and challenges of everyday life. Because having the degrees and having all the certificates, if students are not able, if young people are not able to cope with the daily problems of their life or daily demands of their life, these grades and these certificates are of no use if the skills to cope with those challenges is not being imparted to them. So we need to think, and we need to make changes in our education system so that we can impart the life skill education from the early stages of schooling. Youth need to develop the core life skills to manage their school, their work, and their social relationships successfully, because later on they have to make so many uh, uh, like they have to make a healthy relationship between their work and their home. So how will they cope with that? They need the skills to cope with those things. And from the perspective of brain development, these skills include planning, focusing, self-controlling, awareness, flexibility. These are also known as executive function and self-regulation skills. We come to know how to regulate our own self. And it is also important to note that no one is born with these skills, but everyone can learn them through practice. So we need to include these things into the curriculum so that students, they come after leaving their elementary education, when they are coming to the age of youth population, they acquire these life skills. And to empower adolescents and youth with accurate, age-specific, and culturally relevant information on sexual and reproductive health issues, promote healthy attitudes, and develop skills to enable them to respond to real-life situations in positive and responsible ways. So we need to impart this life skill education. Here we need to see what are these life skills that are to be promoted or developed among youth. There are thinking life skills such as problem solving. They should not seek for solution for each problem through output sources, but they should try to solve their own problems. They should make informed decision by thinking about the pros and cons of each aspect, like what could be best to decide, like what decision could be best. They can think about right and wrong. They can be a critical thinker. They have to analyze before coming to any decision. They have to analyze each aspect, like good and bad aspects, clearly. They have to be creative thinkers. They have to be goal setters. So these are the thinking life skills. They are life-saving skills, actually. When it comes to social life skills, interpersonal communication, interpersonal relationships, that is a social life skill that needs to be developed. Empathy, that means to understand the feeling of others, that is also required among youth. And effective communication, because effective communication is the key to success, because in every aspect you'll find that if you possess effective communication skills, it becomes it becomes easy to cope with different things. Then apart from these thinking and social life skills, there are emotional life skills too, such as self-awareness. Not everyone is aware of their own capabilities. Sometimes it happens the people themselves are not known to their own inner capabilities. So they need to think about they need to be aware of their own capabilities and calibers. So self-awareness is one of those skills. Stress management, there are different kinds of stress, workplace stress, and then at home also there is a stress. Life is not stress free. So how we don't want life that is devoid of stress or full of stress, but we want something to be managed properly. So stress management is also one of the life skills. Then positive thinking, self-esteem, and managing emotions and feelings. These are also the life skills to be developed among youths if we want them to live fully and contribute something in the society. How can these life skill education be significant for youth? Because once they are imparted with these life skills, they develop these life skills, they can explore different alternatives. If one option is not available to them, they can explore different alternatives because they know the skills to deal with different problems, to deal with different challenges of life. They can weigh pros and cons of all aspects, all things. If there is certain thing they have to make decision, they can think from right and wrong perspective. They can weigh, they can just judge on the basis of good points and bad points of that particular aspect. Then on the basis of that thing, they can make rational decisions. If they have life skill education, if they are skilled enough, they can make rational decisions and they can communicate effectively. So when we talk about education of youth, we need not to be merely focusing on their cognitive development that is related to their head, but we should also be focused on their development of their emotions, their affective domain that is related to the values, attitude, and relationship with others. So emotional aspect cannot be neglected, because if we educate today's youth, they will be empowered youth of tomorrow. They can contribute in social development. They can contribute in national development. So, and they comprise the, they are the, in India, we have the largest population of youth, and we have to channelize them properly so that they can be proved to be beneficial for the society, for the nation as a whole. For conclusion, as I have already talked about education of youth, why is it so important to educate them? What kind of skills they required, and what is 21st century skill? What is 21st century pedagogy? So keeping in view all those things, we need a youth population that is highly beneficial for the society. So youth population is an asset and agent of change. It needs to be trained and skilled properly with required set of core skills. And education needs to be flexible enough to meet their diverse needs and demands. And youth needs to be trained to cope with different circumstances of life and its challenges, because life is full of challenges, we know that. And how to deal with those challenges, we need to train our youth population so that they can deal with those challenges. And they have the creativity, potential, and capabilities to bring change for themselves, for their communities, and for the rest of the world. And life skill education offers emotional, social, intellectual tools to youth to help them in achieving success in life. So if we are incorporating those things in our education system, youth population will be be educated and well trained, and they can deal with the different situations of their life, and they can contribute in the social development as well as the national development. Thank you so much for your patient listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Naziya Hasan, for your nice presentation. Your presentation has not only is useful to the youth, but it's also useful to us, having our children in the stage of youth. Thank you very much. May I now request Professor Asha Gupta, President Manipur Shakti, to moderate for the question and answer session.
Anyone from the audience have questions to Dr. Naziya, our resource person of today's webinar? Please directly ask questions to Dr. Naziya. Well, so actually she has talked so beautifully on the subject that I think it has created a lot of interest in the person, that how, she started that who can be said as a youth. She gave definition of UN 16 to 24 years of age, and then according to some 15 to 35. He said that you should be skilled and trained because they are the change makers and the agents of change. So proper skilling and proper training of knowledge is very essential to them. We need that education, which lifts them to realize their, which helps them to realize their potential, so that they can live fully and they can thrive nicely in this world. And she said that what is this youth, that this is the change from dependence of childhood to the adulthood independence. So it's very significant, and we know that India has a large young population. 1.2 billion young persons are there, 15 to 24 years of age, which constitute about 16% of world population. She has talked about sustainable development goals. There are 17 goals which are there to transfer this world and to bring it on the path of sustainable development. And she talked about goal number 4, goal number 8, and others which are also linked with youth, like quality education, like decent working, and so on and so forth. So this the sustainable development goals, they provide the blueprint for the peace and prosperity of people, and they are very urgent for development of any nation. A lot of she has put a lot of her experience on the topic, and talked that how the knowledge and opportunities have to be provided to them as a teacher, as an educator, what is to be done, how the imagination, how the ideals, how the energy, they are full of all these things, and which are very vital qualities rather than for the development of any person. They can turn any problem. They should be able, they should be trained, and they should be skilled in such a way that the problems that they face in life, they should be able to turn such problems into opportunities. And today's youth, they are, she said that they are digitally and media literate. They are creative, they are responsible, they are curious, they are flexible, they are versatile, they are just, they are committed, they are independent. So we need such youth, and training such youth is a great task, great responsibility to the educators. We know that we are also more connected than ever before, and complex global challenges at present we are facing, like climate change, like health epidemics, we have seen this problem. So it calls for citizens and also for leaders who are able to collaborate with diverse groups to solve these problems. And for that, we need the youth are filled with all these skills, who are having not only the academic skills which are important, but we know that they are not sufficient to foster thoughtful, productive, and engaged citizens. So, in a world of rapid change, young people need the right mix of skills to thrive. Hence, access to information is increasing, and now we know that memorizing facts is less important today than in the past. It was estimated, it is recorded that in 2020, an estimated 83 million jobs around the globe were not filled. Why? Because of the lack of skills in those required jobs. So, we have to make education system more adaptive, more innovative, collaborative, and it is very important because as change leaders, first the teachers have to be the leaders, and as change leaders, they have themselves to project as models, and they have to characterize with all these characteristics in themselves. Like they have to be adaptive, they have to be themselves innovative, and they have to be themselves collaborative. When such educators are there, naturally they will leave imprint over their students, over their scholars, and it is possible that we will bring the change which is needed in the society. So it is important to acknowledge the role of civil society in empowering the youth, and it is required for strengthening our democratic system of the country and also for sustainable development, which Dr. Naziya talked at length. However, it is not possible to do this without the support which they get, the youth get from family, from community, from government apprenticeship schemes, and also from the fellow youth. We talked sometime before, we had the webinar, Dr. Naziya was also resource person there, and we talked about National Education Policy NEP 2020. So while outlining the vision of India's new education system, the NEP, it provides the comprehensive framework to address the learning crisis by making education accessible, equitable, and inclusive. So there is a tectonic shift. There needs to be a tectonic shift in our pedagogical structure. So by fostering experimental learning and critical thinking into our education fabric, it is possible that we make our youth as agents of change. Then they will be not only skilled and trained, they will be able to face any situation and get the employment and also create employment for others. According to a report by UNICEF, India will have the highest number of secondary school graduates among South Asian nations, at over 30 crores by 2030, and more than 50% of young people in India will not have the requisite skills for employment. And therefore, it is a major concern in India that the skills should be developed, the skill training should be there. UNICEF cited low quality of education and suboptimal vocational training are the major obstacles in way of skill development. We know development of critical thinking ability is very important, and globally it is the focus of education system. It involves active engagement with real life situations and concepts, and is the intellectual process of conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and evaluating the information. Critical thinking requires role of the teacher, more of a skilled facilitator. He is a skilled facilitator here. The teacher is a skilled facilitator who engages students in a learning situation using their feet. He guides by asking the right questions and engages in reflective conversation, helping in developing critical thinking. We know that there is resource crunch in educational institutions in India, whether there are schools or universities, and it is a challenge to provide the proper learning experiences to learners. However, guided dialogue, and encore mentoring are the educational interventions that improve critical thinking abilities. During pandemic time, teachers across India, they adopted online systems. Still we are following the same, and it's obvious that the education system is getting ready for change and exploring new pedagogic approaches. So the momentum has set now, and though India contributes about 3.5 lakh engineers and 2.5 million graduates annually to the workforce, about 5 million graduates remain unemployed at any given time. So it is very important that we talk of experimental learning and this opportunities for employment. So to make these youth skilled and workplace ready, we need to move to a new learning trajectory. The pandemic has provided us time and opportunity to reflect on the best ways of moving forward. So friends, today we have the first lecture of the series of 7-day program. As Dr. Sudha Tiwari ji has said, that education has to be holistic. The youth should be ready for teamwork. There should not only be the bookish knowledge. She talked that IQ is not important now. We talk of CQ. So take these words of wisdom to your home, ponder over it, and let us see that we become the agents of change. You become the agents of change and serve the society and have the sustainable path, sustainable goals as your path. Thank you so much. Over to Myanmar.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to thank today's resource person, Dr. Naziya Hasan, for your nice and thought-provoking presentation. We are looking forward to listen to you in the future upcoming programs. May I now request Dr. Ibe Chaubi Devi, Assistant Professor, Patrick View College, Ukrul, to propose vote of thanks.
Thank you, Mrinmay. I think I am audible. Am I audible?
Yes, it is audible.
Thank you, Mrinmay, for giving this opportunity. So, the Manipur Shakti is observing the Yuwa Shakti Abhiyan for a week, starting from today, that is 22nd February 2022 to 28th February 2022, aiming on the effort of transforming the youths. So on the first day of our program today, we have Dr. Sudha Tiwari as our chief guest. Ma'am, we are very pleased to have you and hear you today. And we took your advices on the teamwork, education, behavior, and attitude towards our youth, especially the students. Thank you, ma'am, for spending your valuable time with us. And next, I thank today's resource person, Dr. Naziya Hasan, Assistant Professor, Department of Teachers Education, Manipur University, for your valuable speech on educating today's youth. Indeed, ma'am, your talk was very enthusiastic, knowledgeable, and motivative to all, especially the student sectors who are running various stages and challenges like adolescent period and education, career building, employment opportunities, then unemployment factors, gender equity, their skills, then stress management, then generation of positive attitudes, etc., and a lot more in your speech. So thank you, ma'am, for your valuable speech and sparing your time with us. Next, I also thank to all the participants from various sections, scientists, teachers, then professors, students, etc., for joining our program and sharing with us. I also thank Madam Asa Gupta, President Manipur Shakti, for organizing this valuable program and your energetic effort in every works and development program of Manipur Shakti. Next, I also thank Mrinmay Rajkumari, Benita Kangjam, and Program Officer Nahakpam Santos for making this program a success. And lastly, but not the least, I thank everybody for your presence in today's program. So do join us again tomorrow in our ongoing program at the same time. So thank you once again. Mrinmay, please.
Thank you, Dr. Idris Aubry. I request Professor Asa Gupta, President Manipur Shakti, to do Santi part and declare today's webinar close.
Thank you very much. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashit dukhabhag bhave. Shanti, shanti, shanti. With this, I declare today's webinar as closed. Thank you all. Let us meet tomorrow at 5 p.m.